Well, it's time to get back at it. I got the engine set on the frame and I got the body back on. And I gotta admit, I'm really pleased with how it landed. Lifting the body off was really sketchy, so I kind of put the cameras away and I did some refiguring. Kind of reinvented the wheel, if you will. And I think I got that figured out. But I really like how this lined up. I think the motor is exactly where I need it. Now there's two areas that the motor is kind of tight fit, and that is by the steering box. It's kind of the Jeep steering box in a weird location, if you will. And in the right rear corner of the transmission, that's the tight spot, which is kind of weird. It's at an angle, right? But other than that, I have ample room with this thing. There's lots of room at the back by the firewall. There's lots of room underneath. Over top the transmission, the clearance to the body is huge. I really like this, but there is a couple areas of concern. One, right here at the front crank pulley, it's a little tight, but that's an easy fix. I can just kind of recess out the cross member and make some room for that. That's easy. And although I got lots of room on the driver's side, I notice on the passenger side by the exhaust manifold, it's actually contacting the body just here. But there's some solutions there. I could maybe get some headers for it. I'll look into that. It might be just as easy as just to clearance out the body. I need to do some body work anyway, so no big deal. So we'll solve that later. I'll be taking the body off again so I can do the final welding. I need it out of the way to do the suspension as well. And now that I've kind of mastered how to pull this body off with the DIY setup that I have, if you will, I'll go into it in detail this go around. I think I got a way to do this now. But otherwise, I'm really pleased with how this motor sits in there. Hey, it's like it was meant to be, eh? So first I'll show you my better way of pulling the body off the frame, and then I'll transfer my thoughts to the transfer cases. Get it? Transfer. Yeah. So I was looking at it all wrong when I first started lifting this Jeep. I had in my mind that the lift system should also hold it in place. They need to be two separate systems. So my camper jacks ended up working really, really well. So what I did do is I did add some better grease to the screw. And after using them, I did double check for wear. And it's just fine, but the shipping grease I came with is very lightweight. And I could tell it was cutting through, not great. Now I'll say again, these are not intended to lift a vehicle. It is not recommended you do so. I'm not gonna, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna recommend you don't do so. But it is working out for me. They have a capacity of 5,000 pounds each, so the four of them, that's 20,000 pounds, and the Jeep weighs less than 4,000 pounds. So I'm pretty confident in this, but again, not recommended. So what I do is I chase them up with the 3/8 impact here, but I do not put weight on it. The hammering, I need to give that bolt a chance for lifting. All it is a threaded screw, right? So I use the hand crank that is provided for the heavy lifting, and it's been working out really well. So I'm doing two things differently. One is I'm lifting on a different spot on the body, more central, more direct under, and I'm using some strapping, cross strapping to stabilize the Jeep. I came real close to dropping it when I went to lower it. Give me a good scare. So on the rear, I'm jacking it right in the corner. There's a good little square pocket right here that the jack fits right in. Just like that. And on the front, I grab it right behind the front motor mount. Centered like that. And like I said, for the weight, pick it up by hand. So the screw in these jacks is a 1/16 pitch, so every 8 turns gives me a 1/2 inch rise. So I'm gonna go up 1/2 inch at a time. There you go, 1/2 inch. So that's 4 inches. And I'm gonna bring it down 1/2 inch just to put some tension on the block. And as I'm jacking up, I just release the tension on the straps one at a time, making sure I'll lock him back up just in case it decides to go sideways. Now keep in mind these fenders are a little flimsy and they do flex in a little bit, but it's keeping it centered as long as I keep the tension even on both straps. And doing the same at the rear. And of course I keep double checking the tension on these rear blocks that are getting loose. That's offering some stability, keeping the body nice and level. We can swap these guys out for these 4x4s. I heard something that made me nervous. Oh, just the shifter cable falling back down. We're all good. Whew! Well, there you go. That works really well for pulling the body off the frame. Cross strap for steady, nice and easy on the jacks, easy peasy. All I got left to do is pull the rear wheels off, drop the rear axle on the skateboards, and I think I'll take the skateboards out from the front, drop it on the wheels, makes it easier to roll the chassis out from under the body, and there we have it. So if you've ever taken apart these Jeep connectors, you know that when they're full of dirt and stuff, they're really difficult to come apart and usually they end up breaking on you. So what's happening is the lock for the connector is packed full of dirt and mud and there's just not enough space for it to release. So best way I've found to get them apart is you gotta get them cleaned up so there's room for that lock to move. Best way to do that is first of all blow it out with some compressed air and spray it down with any kind of lubricant, in this case WD-40, and that'll help loosen up the dirt. Blow that in as well. I'll give it a little more to let it soak. And we'll release the secondary lock. And man, is it full of dirt. And that lock is so full of dirt, it will not move. So we'll get a little screwdriver and see if we can work it loose. I picked a real good one to show you guys. This one is really stuck. Clean out a little bit of dirt. You can see the mud, just forget mud, that's rocks. You can see the rocks coming out of there and the rocks is what's preventing the lock from releasing. Holy, it's not giving up easy. There you go, it's starting to move. And there you go, just like that. You can see there's still quite a bit of dirt left on top. There is nothing easy about taking this apart, but this does get the job done. Okay, I hadn't planned on filming this part. All I did was remove the fuel tank, and I knew there'd be some mud and debris in between, but oh my God. This has got to change. There's way too much getting stuck in here. Okay, we gotta reinvent the wheel here. This won't do. So I have two transfer cases to work with. I have this one here, which is out of the Jeep, a 241J for Jeep. And this one here that came out of the Chevy pickup truck, a 243C for Chevy, if you will. Now, if you're not familiar with what the numbers mean, the 241, 243, well, it's a pretty simple system actually. The 2 of the 241 refers to a 2-speed transfer case. So basically it has a high range and a low range. The 4 refers to its strength, if you will. So in my TJ, I got a 231, and these are a little bit stronger at a 241. And of course, that's about the only two that will apply to a Jeep here. And basically what it means, wider chain, stronger planetary gears, that kind of stuff. The 1 quite simply refers to the fact that it's a manual shift, and the 3 to this electronic shifter over here, which I don't want. Now I do want to stick with the Jeep transfer case because it fits The Jeep itself so much better, but way easier would be to use the Chevy transfer case because it bolts up to the transmission. And there's some differences. I guess some issues to jump over. Since many parts are interchangeable between these new venture gear or new process transfer cases, I'm really hoping to make a hybrid out of these two. But honestly, I have no clue if this can be done. Here's the differences. So the Chevy transfer case has a much longer tail shaft with this little short wheelbase JK. I don't want that, so that's a no-go. The input shaft spline count is different, so that doesn't fit. The bolt pattern between the two are different, so we'll have to figure that out. The Jeep transfer case has a solid yoke, which I can replace quite easily, while the Chevy has a slip yoke. I want to get rid of that. I have to figure out some kind of a speedometer for it. So I got all kinds of things to figure out, and let's see what we can do here. But first I got to take them apart and see what's what. Well, there's only one way to figure this out, and that's to dig right in. Comes. It has been so long since I've had one of these apart. I'm not even sure I remember how. But we're about to find out, that's for sure. I do like these electric tools, but they don't have the most power in the world, that's for sure. There we go, one back half. That looks fairly clean in there, actually. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've had one of these apart. Let's take these out. Shift fork. Now this one. The detent out makes it easier, so let's do that. Yep, that makes that much easier. Stay in there for now. Our planetary. Okay, our input gear. Does it have a snap ring? I know I got a snap ring here. There we go. Yep, as I remembered, there's a snap ring in here. All right, so now to go get that guy in there. Powertrain was not my specialty when I worked in the trade, not since I was an apprentice anyway. As a few moons ago, to be sure. There we go. One 3-gear planetary. For some reason I thought it might end up being 4. All right.